Well, I think we will get started. Welcome tonight to the College Place High School's High School and Beyond Transition Planning Meeting. We typically in the spring host something called the Transition Expo, and I have a bag tonight that we should give out at our expos. What I want to encourage everybody on the call today to know is that we had a great idea from Cindy Wolski that we fill these bags and get them to the schools before school ends that will be available for you to be picked up. Inside, we're going to be covering this a little bit in today's meeting, but we're going to have our transition checklist inside. It's our local what to do next when you're trying to plan for what's to happen after high school. And inside, we're going to be collecting agency information so that you can have a lot of this in paper form, which at this point, with everything being so virtual, it's kind of nice to just fill paper. So just be looking for this either through Justin or through Donald at College Place, and we'll make sure that you can get one of these in your hands. What I really want you to know is that the Transition Expo happens every year, and it's open to anyone that's age 14 and older in our community. We have a lot of families that move to Walla Walla and may have an adult, and they don't know what's available. And every community does things just a little bit differently. So just know that look for this usually in March every year, and we can make sure that you get connected to over 20 agencies in Walla Walla. So to start our meeting, we want to make sure that everyone keeps themselves muted as best as possible. It is a public meeting tonight, so we are going to be welcoming questions and comments. Just know that we are recording this meeting, so we're going to record until we get to the very end, where we're going to be able to answer more personal questions. That said, if you have a question where we're talking that's just a general question, please put that in the chat box. And we'll make sure that we can answer your questions. If you're a younger student joining us, or someone who maybe isn't attending College Place High School but is very curious about planning, I'm glad you're on the call tonight. So again, sit back and relax and enjoy. Something that we just did 2 weeks ago was learn how to do polls. So as part of our funding comes from the Walla Walla County's community Department of Community Health, and they have sponsored our Better Together learning series over the last 2 years. And this is part of that learning series and a part of what they ask us to do in helping our community transition and learn about what community activities are out there and agencies. So in doing that, because of the funding in part, but also just to know what you're thinking, we're going to conduct a poll, and we're going to do a pre-poll, kind of what you know now, and we're going to do a post-poll at the end. So feel free to answer the questions. Well, tonight we're going to hear from several of us. I'm going to be presenting on the Walla Walla Valley Disability Network's front. We have Justin Bradford. He's our Special Ed Director at College Place Public Schools. He'll be speaking, as well as Donald Pons from College Place. He's the ABLE Program Director and SPED Teacher at College Place High School. We have Cindy Wolski with us from Walla Walla County and the Developmental Disability Programs, and Maria Bexbaum from DVR, and she's a Regional Transition Consultant. And their contact information is going to be one of the last slides that we see. So know that this is going to be recorded, and you can find their contact information in just a little bit. So things that we hope you learned tonight. We want to share with you some treasure maps that and resources that we have found to help you as you navigate this time. There's some new and exciting changes, I know, in special education with College Place that I'm sure they'll be sharing tonight. And I'm very excited to learn more about the ABLE program from Donald, Mr. Pons, and more about our local options for employment and community inclusion with Cindy Wolski, and then again, the role that DVR and DDA play in helping a student with employment services. So I'm going to be starting first, and I actually need to shrink my screen here a little bit. And I just figured out the annotation, fun little doohickey things. So I'm going to use those as I speak, hoping that may help. One of the resources in our community that I think is one of the strongest resources is our website, the Walla Walla Valley Disability Network's website. You can access it by going to www.wwvdn.org, and don't say that 10 times fast. A couple of things about our website. On the right hand, oh, of course, my little annotation thing's not working. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so on the top left side, you'll see that we have a Google Translate button. And what that does, it actually translates our entire website into Spanish, or actually 86 different languages. So it is a helpful tool to remember if you have someone that speaks a different language, or if you are someone who reads better in Russian, change our entire website into Russian and you'll have a much easier time navigating the information. Other things to note is over here on the other side of, let's see if I can move that. Hold on. See, I have an erase button too. I love erase buttons. Over here, there's a little hamburger, the 3-layered lines. That is basically the table of contents for any website that you go to. The reason I say that is sometimes we don't put our information in the space that you find the most handy. So you may be looking in ages and stages, and what you really want is information about autism, and that's probably going to find you more in resources by diagnosis, which is under our resources tab. So use the little table of contents to really find that information quickly about the stuff that you want to learn about. Our logo is actually always the homepage. It will always bring you back to the homepage, which I think is important. But as you are searching for information, everything that's green is actually a link to the next thing. So just know when you're reading something, push the green, it will give you the world of information. I think it's the world of information. And it won't go to the next slide. Okay, hold on. We're gonna figure this out. Bear with me. There's just days like this. Okay, so if you clicked on ages, or actually if you went further down on our website, you'll see these boxes over here. I don't know, can you see my mouse? Can you guys see my mouse? Okay, so over here on our left-hand screen, you'll see where you can pick parent to parent, and you'll see ages and stages. That's actually just lower down on that same home page. If you pick ages and stages, you would have this screen come up. And we have information that's very age specific. One thing that we note is that we have, of course, our area that we have ages 14 through 21 and 21 to 40. Well, that's right in that transition age. So you're going to want to probably look at information in both sections. But you have things like navigating your way. There's so many different just helpful information for parents on guardianships and what's next. I just think that's just a real amazing tool that's available on our website. And I want to make sure you know where to find that. Another piece of information that has been produced through our sister website, sister agency in some ways, is the Informing Families Building Trust. They're out of Spokane and they produce amazing information in very easy to consume ways. They've put together this STAR form with DDA, and it's a way for us to really acknowledge the strengths of our students and write out kind of what kind of sources of support do they need. And I just find this form to be incredibly helpful in thinking about what is the job for my students' future? What's that going to look like? This is actually a 4-page brochure, and I've only picked up 2 of the 4 pages. So this is, again, just a real meaty piece of information that helps families navigate this time in their life, in their students' life. A local treasure map, and that's what you're going to be getting with our bag, is this local transition checklist. We've tried to put together all the local phone numbers, the local addresses, and kind of those things that you want to be able to check off as parents and put a date on it so that you know and kind of keep track of what agencies you kind of still have left on that to-do for you to be ready for the next step. So we try to put this together to be as up-to-date as possible. I am noting, though, that on our guardianship payee, I'm not sure that Omni Guardianship Services is still accepting clients. So we're going to be looking at that in Waceburg. Cindy, do you know Volsky?
Yes, they are still accepting clients.
Perfect. I wanted to make sure that was still accurate information. So again, this is updated fairly regularly and will be available in your bag when you get that from the school. And so next up, and I went way over on my time, I'm going to erase my little doodads. They're on this screen too. Do you guys see those? I hope not. Hold on. I'm going to figure this out. My arrows are gone now, right? Is that better? Justin, you can take the floor.
All right. Well, thanks for hosting this tonight. And and for inviting Donald and myself to this. This will probably be my last big event as a special ed director for College Place, since I'm moving on to Prescott in 3 weeks. But I want to start by just reminding parents that they're in the driver's seat. It is a team effort for all of us, but they and their student are the main part of that team, and the ones that have the strongest voice. And so I'm going to skip to my third point when it talks about how parents can be involved. Let's start there, because that's going to be a critical part of this entire process. And so I would encourage parents not to be afraid to be unapologetic advocates for their child. We will never take offense to that. You aren't offending us. That is your job, to get the best services you can, the most services you can for your child, based on their needs. And so it starts with you. And so that's how you can be involved, is to be present, and to ask lots of questions, because I think typically in special ed, we jump into things right away, and we don't take our time to explain things the way that we should. And parents being polite or being overwhelmed often won't stop us and just go, yeah, they nod their head. And I'm pretty sure you don't always understand, which is okay. I wouldn't expect you to. Ask questions. Stop us. Slow us down. If it takes us 2.5 hours to get through an IEP, then it takes us 2.5 hours to get through an IEP. We want you and your child to understand it in a way that it's secondhand for you. So please speak up. Please ask your questions. Please advocate for your child and your child's needs. You don't work for us, you work for them. And so we are here as a team, we want to work together. But if you're not stating your needs, or when you're upset, or if you have questions, we can't help you as effectively as we'd like to. And I firmly believe that if we have a positive relationship between the student and the parent and the school, we can solve pretty much any problem that comes our way. Some will take more time than others, some will take more resources than others, but we can solve everything that we have to deal with if we work together. So that's my spiel on how parents can be involved. Let's jump back to the student-driven IEPs for a minute. And remember that the IEP, first of all, is a living document. It's fluid. It's not meant to be something that's done one time a year and we don't change anything and we don't adjust anything. It's not meant to be checkboxes. I am not a big believer in compliance. I know some people say, oh, that's what you're supposed to do as a special ed director. Nope. My job is to seek excellence. If we seek excellence, we get compliance thrown in. If all we seek is compliance and checking boxes and watching timelines, we might get that some of the time, but we're not going to get very quality IEPs. So it starts with what are the needs of the student? And that's always, we have to look at that first. And that's what's going to dictate what we put in that IEP and how to implement that IEP. And so, especially as we're talking about transition services and we're talking about kids 14 and older, when we really start getting into that, they need to be at the forefront of this. They need to be involved in their meetings. They need to be asking the questions. When we ask, well, let's put these transition programs in place, or these services in place, or these goals in place, it shouldn't be what we want. It shouldn't be what the parents want. It should be what the kid wants. And that's sometimes hard with some of the challenges that our children are dealing with. But nonetheless, we have to take that stance that it's their desires, it's their wants, it's a thing that are important to them. Obviously, we're going to help guide it and shape it and provide the information like any adult in their life would do. But at the first, the first part of it is, what do they want? And then figuring that out, and then that will dictate everything else that flows. And where do we get that data? There's a lot of different places to get data about what's going on in the student's life. We have assessments, formalized assessments, we have informal assessments, we have observations, we have interviews with the kids, observations with the kids, interviews with family members, interviews with outside agencies, other teachers. There's lots of places to get good quality information. If the IEP is being written without that information, I'm going to say it's not a very good IEP. In fact, it probably borders on invalid if we're not getting all the information we possibly can. So I would urge you as parents to maybe get out of the mode of seeing it as a checkbox and really looking at it as a living, fluid document that's open to change. And if 2 months down the road after you've had the IEP, you go, wait, something's got to change here, or I don't like what's going on, or my kid is saying this, then let's come back together and talk about it. you don't have to wait till the next time rolls around, the next year rolls around, the next 3-year reeval rolls around. Ask your questions now. If we need to come meet and change things, we'll change it now. Okay. How do we set those transition goals? Again, it's looking at what the child wants and merging that with what's possible. We do have to be realistic about what is achievable for some of our kids, and I don't want to ever say that they can't get whatever they want, but it's also realistic to say there are things that may be out of their reach. I don't want to say that to limit kids or to limit parents or to limit dreams, but there's things that all human beings are going to be really good at, and things maybe that shouldn't be things we pursue because we're not very good at it, or they may not be achievable for us. And so trying to figure out what that is without squashing hopes, without limiting people, that's a tough balancing act. But once you kind of figure that out and come up with some realistic, achievable goals, then it's really taking the time to figure out what are all those things I got to put in place. What are the steps that I got to put in place to achieve those goals and support those goals. In the old days, we used to have to write objectives with our goals, like the steps that we would reach to get there. We kind of moved away from that, but really we need to be thinking in those terms. If this is the end point I want in a year for this kid, what are the things that I've got to have? Who are the people they've got to connect with? And it's never too early to start that process. That's what I started at 16, right? And writing those transition IEPs. It wouldn't hurt to even start a little bit earlier, because it can take a few years to set these things up. And I know sometimes parents are like, well, they're going to be in until they're 21, or we have plenty of time. Let me tell you that time comes quickly. And I know they're going to talk later about guardianship. That's another important thing that I encourage parents to start thinking about several years before they turn 18, because it takes a while, and know that all their rights will transfer to them when they turn 18 if you don't have guardianship. And so you don't want to be in that position 6 months before thinking, oh, we got to change this up because it's not going to happen. Or making all those community connections, especially in the Walla Walla Valley, which has some limited resources. We're not a huge area, so we don't have as much as Spokane or Tri-Cities or the West Side. So it's negotiating those early. It's asking the right questions. It's linking up with people that are going to help your child along the way with meeting those transition goals. So again, start early, ask lots of questions, and don't be afraid to advocate unapologetically for your child. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Justin, for sharing, and I wish you all the luck in Prescott. You have been an amazing advocate for our families in this area, and I've appreciated your friendship in our new role. We started the Walla Valley Disability Network 5 years ago, and Justin was just an early friend to our network, so thank you so much. We're going to continue now with Donald sharing. Thank you. I'm going to now pass the mic, I guess, over to Donald. And I wanted to just also share, guardianships are not the only option for families. There's other options like the power of attorney you can get with medical or finances, and just that there's supported decision making. There's still a lot more around that next step that needs discussing. We do have some more information on our website about that will not be covered tonight. So just it's a big meaty one that we can't get into in the time that we have tonight, but thank you for bringing that up. And Donald, it's yours.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you, Justin. And I just want to say that it's really, we're really in great company, and I think we're in good hands with the organization here in our community. And Justin, you leaving us in a great connection, definitely moving forward with Walla Walla Disabilities Network and really setting us up in a good spot for years to come. So thank you for your work on that and that connection. I have happened to be one of the people, again, by default. We have to have an 18 to 21-year-old transition program at a high school, and it's able. It is achieving, believing, lifelong employment. And it's really, it comes out of the vision of it. I believe, and I know that many of you guys believe, that our students deserve to work and deserve to have employment and deserve to have a meaningful life with that employment. So one of the things that we really we hone in on is employability skills. We provide teaching, coaching, and mentoring for special education students with development disabilities in various ways. And so every student's program looks a little bit different. We again, Justin talked a little bit about how do we get the information from the students. We take what the student wants, what their needs are, what their desires are, and we see how we can fit that within our frame of the school day. And so really when it comes down to it is that we're a program that takes a small group of kids, students, adults, and we work to fit their needs, their desires, their wants, and try to put them in a place where they will have a fulfilling employment in their life. So one of the things that is interesting, we made several connections, business partners this past year. Humane Society, I know they've always been one of the partners in the community for everyone, and they partnered with us this year. We had a couple of students work at the Humane Society on a regular basis. We also had 2 students work at Fresh Line. They've had a couple of articles in the newspaper. They've really gone above and beyond right there on College Avenue. And so they've gone above and beyond, and we have students that work in there every day that could receive really employment for the long term. So not just a volunteer thing. We also have a partnership with the Walla Walla Pasta Factory. One of our students happens to be, the parents happen to be the owners. And so they were really, really happy to be a part of our program and see it grow. And they were wanting to seek our partnership with us to help students in the future. So we have a lot of great community partners that are helping us, that are allowing us to have volunteer programs, and students go out and explore and learn just through the work of any kind of job. And so we're still continuing to develop those relationships and partnerships. We're on the ground running, and we're looking to expand as our program is becoming bigger and larger, and more students are coming in. The one thing that we have, the great thing that we do have is I'm excited about this next year coming up, because we are going to have we're going to take control of our student store within our school, the Hawk's Nest. And so we'll have management opportunities for our students they will be able to lead, guide, and help and work with other students. So that's an exciting adventure for us, as well as continue to develop our outside partnerships. So that's what we're all about. We're all about really getting our students out there and pushing them towards employment. We have currently several students, or a couple of students right now, that are employed full-time or part-time, and their desires to come here and to continue to learn and get educated. So we're always celebrating those successes as well. The one thing that I want to say about ABLE is that we're not just about employment. We also understand that when we talk about transition, we talk about individuality, and we look at a student's plan in a program and what they want to do and desires. And so we haven't really got to this part yet, but we have had discussions with students prior to this meeting, is that there are many options. Students can continue to take classes at College Place High School. They can also maybe get into the community college, do the Running Start program. And so these are some of the things that we are helping, and we are trying to lead and guide. And we understand that not everybody can do. I think Justin mentioned before, we have to be realistic about what students can do. But we also don't want to limit that. So we're always open. We're willing to make it happen and make it work. And if it doesn't work, we'll try again, and we'll try something else on a different route, and a different avenue. And so those are some of the things that we do. As you see on the next slide, Cindy posted, we have a worksite agreement. So every student, every family coming into our program, we have a worksite agreement that the parent and the student fills out. These are some of the checklists of things that we are looking for, things that we're going to work on as we're learning to be good employees and going forward from there. Our school day, we have shifted over the years. We've had a condensed school day, but as we're expanding and as transportation and who knows what's going on, how school is going to look in the future, we're going to have a regular school day. So primarily from 8 o'clock to 2:30 is kind of the day feel that we're going to have, and then each student individually will have their own area where they're going. And so I do have a job coach and support and helper in Christine Maskell. She is awesome. She's here on this call right now. She does a great job. I told the panel before, I'm just a used car salesman, and Christina is a talent. And so she has done a great job with our program. She really gets, we talk about hygiene. She cuts hair. We learn. We shop for ourselves. So we do all of these things, and she does a really good job at that. She's a licensed barber and has really worked with our students to help them understand the importance of grooming and hygiene. And one of the things and the last things I'll hit on is some of the things that we talk about, and we it's very important, is some of the soft skills that our students are going to need to have and learn so that they can maintain and keep employment for a while. And some of those soft skills are communication. This is a huge one, because even right now, in this time and age where communication is very, very hard to obtain, and we know that our students have barriers already. So one of the things that we're going to focus on and work on is our communication skills. We have to communicate it not just by face-to-face, but through email, through phone, whatever we need to. And we need to make sure that our students are checking our emails on a daily basis, make sure they respond in an appropriate way, things like that. That's one example that we, one of the soft skills that we've talked about and reached upon. We've also talked teamwork. We have to work in teams. Obviously is something, problem solving. We do not have the students fail. And so when there's a jobs, Christina, myself, you more so Christina, because I have other things, but she lets them fail, and that's okay. And we want feedback. We tell our employers, our partners, to say, give them direct feedback. If you don't want them working there, let them know why, and so that we can work on those things as well. And what does it take for them to become a desirable employee for their business. And so these are some of the things that we worked on. The soft skills, time management's one, adaptability is another one as well, and being able to be flexible. How do we work from home? We're doing that right now. And so we have to be able to have some of those soft skills as we move forward. So those are some of the things that we teach in the ABLE program, and we'll continue to do that. We do have some of the curriculum that we use, and you'll be familiar with this as parents, as we'll have one-on-one meetings, is Brigance Transition Skills. So it's just a program. Brigance has been around for a long time. They have really set out some of the needs of each student, of what an adult needs, not just students with disabilities, but all adults. We also have the Conover Company, which is an online company, online curriculum company that does a really good job with work scenarios for our students to learn and see and learn from. Then Skills to Pay the Bills does a good job. Financial literacy is important for our students. So we have a lot of stuff, and we're really excited and about this and really move forward and see what we can do for the future.
I didn't want to interrupt, Donald, but
time.
No, not just time, but question about your curriculum. Is there a way that you could type in the chat box with those two programs you just talked about?
Yes, I will do that.
I heard Pagrant, which I don't think is probably right.
No, it's Brigance. I'm sorry, Brigance.
I'm not familiar with it as a student, so, I mean, as a parent, so I just think those are really helpful, especially your online curriculum too.
Yes.
I'm always about sharing this kind of information, and I think that that's brilliant. So thank you. And I'm guessing, I wanted to ask Shamra if there were any questions that came through the chat box too. I don't know if she had been checked. No questions. Okay. Donald, I didn't want to interrupt. I just wanted to clarify. Okay. But if you're good, then we'll move on. Yeah. Okay.
I'm good.
Let me go back then. We're gonna. I'd like to introduce Maria and have her speak next. Last time I introduced was our area transition specialist, and she corrected me. She's the regional transition consultant, and we're so glad that she's on the meeting tonight. So Maria, this is yours.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. And yes, I am your new transition consultant with ESD 123. So I'll cover this whole area in our region. But before I do get started, I did want to let you guys know Jessica Rush is actually your DBR school appointed liaison and the vocational rehabilitation counselor that you actually may already know, or a few of you may already know. Her role with DBR as a vocational counselor actually focuses primarily on providing individual employment services for youth and adults. So she works with the schools, but also adults in our communities. And you're definitely welcome to reach out to both of us. So now you'll have access to Jessica and then also access to me. Previously in let's just say the Region 1, which is all of Eastern Washington, there was only one transition consultant. Her name was Tammy Doyle, and she has now moved on to be our program manager. And she used to cover this whole region by herself. So I have the honor of working with 2 other consultants in the Spokane area, and then soon we'll have another consultant in the Yakima office. So just a little bit of background on what our services are. And sorry, I'm not sure if I said this. Jessica's not able to be here tonight, so she did send her apologies. But she wanted me to just briefly touch base on what services she can assist with, and then some of those I can also help with. So it's kind of like a team with DBR. So you, like I said, you can access both of us. Really what our main goal is to work with students who qualify for our program with either an IEP or a 504, or who have a documented disability. And what some of the things that we can assist and participate in are like attending your IEP meetings, any questions around eligibility and who can apply and when should you apply, consultation regarding pre-ETS and transition services, and providing resources to you regarding the pre-ETS and transition services that are going to be occurring in your area. Really the main difference between the consultant and the counselor is individual services versus group setting. And so my role as a transition consultant, I do focus more on group settings and working with contractors within our area to help bring in some pre-ETS services where there is a need. And so really more on the group setting. Also in the future, DBR is now looking at providing direct delivery workshops where I could help facilitate or co-facilitate workshops in the classroom to work with some of your students. So that's pretty new, and that's pretty exciting because that's not really been occurring before in DBR. So we're excited to get that rolling out this next school year. Of course, depending on what it's going to look like, but we're hoping that schools will still be interested and willing to let us come help them out and meet some of those needs that they have. Just overall, though, I am really excited to be working with DBR. Prior to DBR, I was actually with DDA as a resource manager, and I worked with the supported living program. So that was my past. And then prior to that, I was also a high school graduation specialist with the Kennewick School District. So just a little bit of background in case any of you folks are new to DBR, or maybe your student is finally transitioning into high school. I just wanted to talk briefly about what is pre-ETS and or transition services and some of the requirements for DBR. And so the services that DVR provides in these school settings and or post-secondary schools is really tailored for students between the ages of 14 up to the age of 22. Once they turn 22 on their 22nd birthday, they're no longer eligible for the pre-ET services. Pre-ET stands for Pre-Employment Transition Services. They are different than transition services in that they are more general. It's more of like a exploratory program where students are able to get hands-on experience with interest inventories, job exploration, job shadowing, and just really trying to get students to really think about, what kind of job they would like or what kind of career. So it's all of that pre-employment support that they'll need, where the transition services are going to be more specified and a little bit more specific for the students once they've kind of determined, they've included it in their IPE, they've decided this is kind of what I want to do, this is where I want to go have a job work experience. So it's a little bit more further on. Let's see. So that's just kind of a quick little overview of the pre-ETs and transition services. I was asked to talk a little bit about the T-Folio curriculum. The T-Folio curriculum has been developed in a partnership with the DVR program and Center for Change in Transition Services. And it was developed to help the DVR agency, but also schools meet their pre-ETs and IEP transition requirements. And so really it was developed with the purpose of, the ultimate goal is to help students find employment and meaningful employment, kind of like Donald was saying. We want to make sure that it's something that's really appropriate for them, tailored for them. It has their skills in mind, their abilities. And so the curriculum itself is a free curriculum that you can find. I will post the website in the chat box here in a few minutes. But the curriculum is pretty user-friendly. We've had a lot of students and schools say that, it's easy to navigate. It's very easy for the students, but also the teachers to facilitate. So the actual curriculum focuses on 5 different units, and the units are, job exploration, post-secondary employment, work-based learning experiences, and workplace readiness, training, and self-advocacy. So some 5 really key important units that will help the students really kind of get a good idea of, what their skill set is, what their interests are, and their maybe hobby or their likes. And so within each of those units, there are a handful of lessons. And as a facilitator, you're able to either download the lessons and print them, or provide the students with the ability to fill them out online themselves, and then they create a PDF. And they can print them or save them in their own files so that they have kind of like a portfolio that would go with them if they were to maybe move schools or, just move into a different school district or elsewhere. So it's really user-friendly in that perspective. And without getting into the weeds of the program, I wanted to kind of highlight somebody that is doing a great job facilitating with the T-Folio curriculum. We have a contract with Big Bend Community College. And once the COVID pandemic really came around and we realized a lot of schools were struggling trying to reach out to our special education students, this contractor decided to utilize the T-Folio curriculum and provided it virtually. And they've been doing such a great job. I'll have to post the link for that one as well in the chat box, so you can kind of get a good feel for the program. But what they're doing is they have pre-recorded workshop lessons that they'll have the students kind of log in at their own time. It's a workshop that's already been recorded for them, so they can kind of go through that workshop at their own pace. They can pause it, rewind, check make sure they're understanding the material. And then at the end of the week, they have a Zoom meeting with the students to help them with the lessons that were within that unit. But a lot of our students and the facilitators have really appreciated having the two separate components, where the student can work on their own at their own pace, and then they come together as a group. So I'll leave the link in the chat box, but I think it's a really cool way to facilitate the T-folio. Even maybe, you know, as a school year rolls out, it's kind of, you know, a nice homework assignment that they can do at their own time and then come back as a classroom setting and review together. But we're really proud of Big Bend for taking that on, especially considering we had a lot of students that just weren't interested at first, or were not willing to reach out to their teachers once they got a feel for the T-folio curriculum and how easy it was. They were able to participate, and so that was really exciting. And so I'll post that link as well. But I guess just overall, I'm happy to be here. I'm really excited. Thank you for the invitation. I was telling the group previously that this Transition Coalition is just amazing. You guys are doing great work, and I'm just honored to be a part of it and looking forward to working with everybody in the future. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Maria. We just so value your expertise and your sharing of information. And like I said, I mean, this transition piece, Walla Walla is the perfect size. I heard Megan DeBolt say that today, our county health director. She said, we're not too small, we're not too big, where we can still have these relationships and really affect some amazing change in our community for our families. And again, I just appreciate all the leadership that's on the call tonight. We're gonna continue on with Cindy Wolski, and I'm gonna get to the next screen. Oh, it actually worked this time. It's always a win. And Cindy, this is the second time this has happened. She got booted off the call in the middle of Maria sharing, and she's back on, I believe, on her phone. So let's see if Cindy can share. I'm gonna unmute her and see if that helps. Cindy, can you talk?
What? Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
I'm
I can hear you.
unmuted.
Yes, you're
Okay.
unmuted. You're
Okay,
good.
great. Okay, thank you. I'm Cindy Wolski, and I'm the Developmental Disabilities Program Coordinator for Walla Walla and Columbia counties, and we provide a DDA-funded service that's employment and community inclusion services for individuals with developmental disabilities. The qualifying criteria for my program is that you are a client of DDA and that you're 21 years and older. If you're not currently on a Basic Plus or a Core waiver, you'll need to be moved to the Basic Plus waiver to access employment services. And during your transition year, which is the year you are 21 and are leaving high school, there's funding available to do this. Another scenario is that if you come out of high school with a job, it's usually fairly easy to get you on that Basic Plus waiver so that you can have the DDA follow along support. So it's kind of important to know that we're out here and that there's funding there in place as you're leaving high school. How you choose your services and your service provider is all done through your DDA case resource manager. And they'll talk to you about all your employment provider options, and then they'll send a referral to the county, and we'll get that set up for you. We currently are contracted with 6 agencies in the area to provide employment and community inclusion services. They are Blue Mountain Industries, Compass Career Solutions, Goodwill, Opportunity Services, Noble Hunt, and The Place. And there will be a brochure in the bag that Cindy and I will put together that will have all the contact information and also individual brochures from all of these providers. And they're very open to being interviewed and setting up meetings so that you can sit down with them and they can let you know what kind of services that they can provide for you. Just a quick note, to be eligible for DDA, you must have intellectual disability, and other qualifying disabilities are cerebral palsy, epilepsy, autism, or other neurological or conditions that are similar to intellectual disability. All of the information on eligibility is on the website. If you just do a Google search on Washington State DDA, you'll find that. The disability must have originated before you turn 18. It's got to be continued or expected to continue indefinitely, and it results in a substantial limitation. So those are just things to keep in mind. It's important that DDA, you do your application process and get qualified early on. We're doing really some big pushes with the help of Walla Walla Valley Disability Network through our Birth to 3 programs, and making sure that families know early on about DDA, what their services are, and how to get on that case count, so that in the future, years and years down the road, if you have a need for employment and community inclusion services, that they'll be available to you. Some of the services that the providers of individual employment will provide are person-centered planning, discovery, skill assessment, job preparation, job marketing, job supports, job coaching, and job retention. Just a few examples of the types of jobs that we currently have people with developmental disabilities working in out in the community, earning minimum wage or greater. We've got folks out at grocery stores, Albertsons, Andy's, and Super One. Some of the restaurants we have folks working at are T. Macarones, Mod Pizza, Pizza Hut, and Del Taco. We also have a number of individuals employed at our local colleges in their food services at Bon Appetit, Whitman, and Sodexo, Walla Walla University. We've got folks in retail stores, Marshall's, Green Valley Nursery, and Northwest Farm Supply. We have a couple folks in childcare one at the kids' place, one at my friend's house. Long-term care, we've got Oddfellows in Park Manor. We have somebody who his dream job was to detail cars, and he works, I believe, 35 hours a week at McCurley Toyota detailing cars, and that was an exciting find for him. In maintenance and grounds work, we've got someone at Clickers. We've got 3 individuals that go seasonally and work for Walla Walla Suites, and we have an individual that works at KUJ Radio. The Unity Group is a group that consists of job developers from all of our contracted agencies, and they work together and approach the business community as a unified group seeking customized and carved job opportunities for all of the clients that we serve here in the Valley. They meet monthly and they set up informational tours, and we're really lucky to have such a great group of providers that work collaboratively, and if they come across a job lead and they don't have an individual that's looking for something in that field, they will share it with the other agencies, and maybe that would benefit another individual. So they really work great together, and they're a good resource for our businesses. If after 9 months of employment services you decide you don't want to pursue employment, there is an option for community inclusion services. These services provide skill development, discovery, as you participate in community integrated activities of your interest. They're usually classes, clubs, recreation activities. And the goal of our community inclusion service is to assist you in developing personal relationships with others in the community and increase your independence in participating in activities that are your choice. Some examples of our current community inclusion activities: we've got folks that are doing bingo, participate in gaming clubs, art classes, cooking classes, exercise classes, gyms, dancing, karate, ceramics, woodworking. It's really all done through discovery and kind of trial and error and finding out what individuals like to do. And then we work really hard to create those social relationships with others that aren't paid to be with you, so that the community inclusion provider can start to sort of back off and let you be independent in your skills and connect with others that have the same interests as you do. So that's kind of a brief overview. I'm going to turn it back over to Cindy. I know we're close to time, and I want to make sure that everyone has time to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cindy. I really appreciate you sharing. I'm going to try to get to the next screen. Let's see. Oh, I can. Here is all of the contact information for the folks that you heard speak tonight. Again, we have an amazing crew in Walla Walla, and especially with our regional support too, with Maria. I feel like we can work really hard with your students to make sure that there is some options in that 7+ hours that we're going to be filling when they leave high school. But it does, and you know this as parents, it's going to take some time. It just takes a little bit more time to work on, you know, time management, I can still learn a little bit about that. But it's, you know, it's the time management. It's the skills that Donald was saying that Kristen's been working with the grooming, and why it's important to smell okay when you're out. You know, brushing your teeth and your hair are important skills to learn. There's just some really good, amazing things I think as families we can work on. Something that just a couple things I want to cover. Census 2020 is still happening right now. It is really important for services in counties that they have an accurate count of their population. There's not a disability question on the census, but just know that by pure numbers, that does give our community more access to funds. So just if you can and you haven't yet, please go online. It's actually pretty easy. If you've lost your little postcard with the number, you can seek it pretty quickly with your address. Just know that that's happening, and we would encourage families to complete the census. Also, right now for the state of Washington, there's a lot of funds that are, they're asking all the, Governor Inslee has been asking all the agencies to cut funding by about 15%. There is a petition right now through the Arc of Washington to stop the potential, what do you call it, defunding, I guess, of a lot of DDA services. Just please check that out. We have some information on our Facebook pages, and it's something to, I think as all of our families are connected to those kind of services, I feel like it's an important mention to you right now that if you want to be an advocate, share with them your stories and why those funds matter to you and your family. Past that, there is an exit poll that we're going to do, and I don't know if there's any other comments from our presenters before we go to the poll. I just want to also make sure that we caught that. Maria said, I think the age 14 is when they can start with some of the DVR services, so I want to make sure that question was answered from the previous poll.